One Piece, 10 characters who don't act like real pirates. Despite being the definitive anime series about pirates, many of the characters can hardly be considered pirates in the traditional sense of the term. The One Piece universe is defined by its many seafaring pirates. Although each of them has their own unique goals and flair, most share the same singular objective, to find Roger's treasure and become the next pirate king. However, many don't actually behave like real-world historical pirates. Whether due to bizarre gimmicks or simply being too nice, the only thing they have in common with their real-life counterparts is that they're hunted by the 10. Bellamy is more interested in destroying others' dreams than finding his own. Bellamy was first introduced in the Jaya arc, where he openly scorned Luffy's interest in Sky Island. He was so proactively against the idea that he was even willing to fight him solely to disprove that it existed. This was particularly unconventional for a pirate, as many often enjoy a good story regardless of how ridiculous it might be. The villain's lack of ambition would carry over into the Dressrosa arc, where he had more enthusiasm for joining the Don Quixote family than chasing treasure even after visiting a Sky Island himself. 9. Foxy's only goal is to host needlessly complicated pirate games. Foxy is easily one of the most unconventional pirates in the One Piece universe. Instead of chasing treasure, quarreling with the government, or attacking villages, his sole interest is challenging other pirates to games and stealing their crew members. There is no palpable objective behind his games except for how they inflate Foxy's ego. Even more peculiarly, Foxy has incredibly thin skin and is devastated by insults, especially those pertaining to his physical appearance. His self-esteem is so fragile that the Straw Hats exploited it to defeat him. 8. Buggy the Clown's themes are too outlandish to be taken seriously. In theory, Buggy's behavior is congruent with traditional pirate standards. He raids towns, hoards treasure, and has a small army of loyal followers that cling to his every word. He was even brutal enough to attempt executing Luffy with a buggy ball during the Battle of Orange Town. However, Buggy's decidedly absurd circus aesthetic would realistically make him the laughingstock of any pirate community, and not in the way he prefers. His ascension to warlord is only possible through several unfathomable strokes of luck. 7. Fisher Tiger was a mix between pirate revolutionary. After escaping from the world nobles, Fisher Tiger founded the Sun Pirates and set sail on the Grand Line. Although his crew consisted of some particularly brutal members such as Arlong and his entourage, they made a specific point to focus on vessels belonging to the government. Tiger was so unusually honorable that he even helped Koala return home, a mistake that would cost him his life. The fishman's inability to decide between being a pirate and a revolutionary makes it impossible to define him as the former. 6. Mihawk's sense of honor is distinguishing. As the world's finest swordsman and a member of the 7 warlords, Mihawk has a reputation to uphold. Despite this, he isn't particularly interested in anything and often wanders the Grand Line listlessly. Mihawk's vessel is particularly absurd and further divorces him from a conventional pirate. He embarks across the seas on a tiny raft and manages to obliterate Don Krieg's armada regardless. Given his confidence in his skills, the swordsman feels like he doesn't need an imposing ship in order to strike fear into the hearts of his enemies. 5. Frankie began his journey with a hatred of pirates. When Frankie was first introduced, he was an enemy of pirates everywhere. Since they couldn't consult the world government for help, he would attack and dismantle their vessels alongside his family in order to sell their scraps. Even after reluctantly joining the Straw Hats, Frankie's behavior is ill-fitting to his vocation as a pirate. The cyborg's kind heart might win an abundance of friends, though it's highly unusual for a career where burglary, kidnapping, and unprompted violence are both accepted and ubiquitous across the sea. 4. Kuro's cowardice presentation separates him from typical pirates. Captain Kuro was an odd pirate due to his suave mannerisms and arbitrarily complicated plans. He spent several years posing as a butler to Kaya so that he could eventually seize her will and family fortune. His plan did not account for the fact that she might have other loved ones, making his alleged intelligence questionable. Given that his crew had the power to storm Syrup Village unopposed. A real pirate would have simply taken Kaya's wealth and sailed off before the Marines had a chance to respond. 3. Galdino's fear of getting his hands dirty portrays him in a negative light. Otherwise known as Mr. 3, Galdino's behavior closer resembled a world noble than it did a pirate. He is pompous, snide, ridiculously dressed, and incredibly cowardly. The latter was demonstrated in Little Garden, where he sabotaged two giants' honorable duel in an attempt to collect their bounties. He was also willing to abandon Luffy at Impel Down before Magellan arrived at the top floor and was too timid to put his foot down on Buggy's increasingly overconfident plans. Despite his powerful wax, Galdino's attitude prevents him from being considered a respectable pirate and is partially why he was kicked out of Crocodile's Baroque Works organization. 2. Yorkie can barely be considered a pirate by any definition. Yorkie was the first captain of the Rumbar Pirates. Aside from flying a Jolly Roger, there was virtually nothing about his crew that warranted their criminal status. His merry band of musicians weren't interested in wealth, destroying the government, or even feuding with other pirates. Their mission statement was to spread joy to the world and bring a smile to every child. Realistically, Yorkie wouldn't be considered a pirate since his group hasn't done anything wrong. 1. Luffy is more of an adventurer than a pirate. Although Luffy has frequently stated that his aspiration is to become the Pirate King, he is better described as an adventurer. The Straw Hats never steal treasure from the innocent and will sometimes even refuse it from people they have saved, such as the denizens of Skypiea or Fishman Island. The only way Luffy might be considered a pirate is through his contributions against the world government and association with Monkey D. Dragon. However, given that the former was almost always retaliatory, like saving Robin from Enies Lobby and destroying it in the process, even that counter-evidence is questionable.